I was born here on the farm, 1931, 19th of May. I got four brothers. I have three brothers older and one younger. And our mother died when I was about 3.
And you say your mother died. What were the circumstances?
Well, I'm not sure.
Always
Meningitis, I understand.
meningitis, I understand.
How sad. So you have no memory of your mother?
No, I just remember. I just remember the funeral. That's it.
You were only 3 years old, weren't
Yeah.
So during those years growing up, did your dad have any help looking after you kids?
Yeah, there was a lady who looked after us.
you? Like she was 17, wasn't she, when she came when the fifth child was born, so you said,
Yeah,
and she came to help around the house, and that, I suppose, like I said, she was only 17 at the time, but then she stayed on.
What was her name?
She was-
Bristol.
Yeah, Gladys.
Gladys.
She come from Witheridge.
Gladys Bristow, but she was always known as Gertie, wasn't she,
Yeah.
by the family? And she was still here when we
Yeah,
got
she
married.
died.
Yeah, she died in 2000,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
no,
Yeah, she just
89. Roy died in 89 and she died in 90. She was buried in Kingdom Churchyard.
And where had your parents come from? And your father had always been at Waddington, had he?
No, he moved here in 1913 or 1914. His father come here renting the farm. My grandfather bought it after the First World War. I think the landlord had one son and he was killed in the war. And then the farm come up for sale.
And your mum, where had she come from?
Spittle,
So she was a dad.
down,
Yeah.
it's there. Picture of it.
So she hadn't moved far.
No,
across the valley.
So what are your earliest memories of being here on the farm?
and in the war years every farmer had to put in so many potatoes, so much grain. You had to be more or less independent. And, they were encouraged during the war to work on the farm. The schools weren't quite fussy if you was working on the farm.
So you could afford to miss a few days school?
Well, we did quite often.
Yeah. And what do you remember about farming in those days? Because it would have been very different.
But horses, and then all the time, I can remember, before I left school, working horses, doing different jobs.
So you grew up around horses?
All horses ploughed. I've ploughed with horses. We bought the first tractor in the war, I think it was about 1944. An old standard 14 with spadelocks, steel wheels, they'd go anywhere.
Like
But
a
you
horse?
couldn't go on the road a lot because they'd make, put the roads.
So what other jobs did you do with horses?
Well, I remember one field, we had some acres of potatoes there. That was probably after the war, or the end of the war. We used to go around with one horse and a single cultivating between the rows, and you had to do it all with a horse.
So how much help did you have on the farm?
Well, I don't think we had. I think the workman that Father had left it before the end of the war because he wanted to go to a farm where he could live in. And,
So at the time, the Ham cottages did belong to the farm,
yeah,
didn't they? But
Ham
I
Cottage.
suppose they weren't able to be lived in.
There's 2 cottages then.
So Ham Cottage was part of the farm, was it?
Yeah, well, Ham Cottage is part of the farm, but then it was condemned right after. Well, I think right after the war it was condemned. And then Father sold it or to a man that rebuilt it.
But Tom, you see, with 5 brothers, and you can tell, what a difference finances on farms were then, because Gilbert, his eldest brother, your father bought him a farm near Rackenford. The second brother, he bought a farm at Trentershoe, the third brother, he bought a business for in Witheridge, a fish and chip shop and a grocery shop. And then the two youngest ones were here on the farm, on the home farm. So imagine to be able to, have the wherewithal to be able to buy your children properties like that. It just doesn't seem credible in this day and age. You can hardly have enough to sort of keep more than one family on a farm these days.